Hello and welcome to the Cynic Weekly on Thursday the 14th of May 2026. I'm your host Christopher Gallagher and we're going to talk about the Celtic game at Motherwell yesterday. Just the game, nothing else really, not much else to talk about really, but we'll pick it all up with one of the best panels. Stuart Dickens here. Stuart, hello, how are you, sir?
I'm tired, Chris. We're nearly there. Fuck me, it's taken it out of me.
Oh God.
But good. Obviously, incredibly positive week and incredibly exciting weekend to come. But it doesn't have to take it out of you.
It doesn't have. Couldn't agree more. We're also joined by the one, the only Barry Gallagher. Hello, Barry. How are you, sir?
I'm good, thank you. Obviously elated after last night. I actually feel that I feel like I drank 100 pints last night when
Love that.
I haven't drank in a long time. So, but yeah, just as Stuart was talking there, I was thinking back to last week and what we would have given then to be in this position then. So, obviously there's a lot of context. There's the meltdown's been as crazy as you'd imagine it could have been. But yeah, just delighted to have given ourselves this chance, and that's all we can ask for at this stage, really.
We sat here last week and we did run through scenarios. Excuse me. We now know what the final scenario is going to be. The final challenge is going to be obviously Celtic versus Hearts. A win takes everything. Any drop points against them, and it's adios muchachos. I'm trialing that out. It's not working, I don't think. But Stu, like last week we were talking about goal difference, and we were talking about, the need to go and hit them from the start and, get goals. We don't have to worry about that now, but how close were you thinking about worrying it up until about the 93rd minute yesterday?
Goal difference won't be crucial.
Yep.
I had chucked it. Basically, I was like, I just don't think that we have it in us to keep a clean sheet, quite frankly. And I know that, if Falkirk had scored and it was only going to be a 2-goal deficit, I think I would have agreed to that this time last week. But the fact that it was a 3-goal spin, in fact, when they added their extra goal, I lost my nut. I was like, oh my God, it's going to be 4 goals.
Yeah.
And then I realised that it actually didn't count for anything because of maths. I think that I still think we'll probably need to score 2 or 3 goals at the weekend anyway to get any sort of breathing space and make sure they're done, because I don't think that Hearts are going to go away. I think that from, again, looking back to last week, I wouldn't have been positive that we'd be sitting in this position, so I think we've far exceeded my expectations. And for all that last night was just another grueling sort of trip through the mill, I think the team actually do deserve an enormous amount of credit. The guts and the heart that they've shown to stay in this fight is incredible. And I made a sort of cat-handed comparison to an American sports playoff season where at the start of the 5 games, I just didn't think that this team had it in them to make it all the way through to a final, and they've kind of proven me wrong, and I think they've proven a lot of people wrong and deserve a lot of credit, as much as people will try and discredit them.
Saturday is basically Super Bowl Saturday, is what you're saying?
Pretty much. Without, maybe Liam McGrandles would do a halftime show. That'd be good.
That would be good.
Would it?
No, I mean it wouldn't. We'll obviously get to covering everything. The world has lost its mind. A lot of people commenting on.
I don't know if Liam McGrandles listens. That was just a wee joke. I think good on you, man. Do your thing.
Yep.
Just in case.
Liam McGrandles is lawyering up.
I would just be so hurt if I listened to my favourite podcast every week and they just absolutely piled in at me for no reason. So I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
There we go. Carry on.
Lovely. Official apology. First of the season, which is 3 weeks left of it. In terms of, I'll start with the opening question, Barry, and we'll come to you. You were at the game yesterday, so we'll get some just insight into the atmosphere and stuff. Opening question is there a bias towards Celtic from the SFA?
Wow. We were just talking before we came on air there about it just seems so ludicrous that John Beaton and Andrew Dallas would conspire to wrestle the title away from the team that seems to be the nation's sweetheart and heart of Midlothian, not even just in Scotland, but it seems the whole world wants it because it'd be good for Scottish football. Again, I don't know what that means.
Doesn't mean anything.
What's good about it? To break the monopoly, 'cause it's not even a duopoly. But yeah, I find it's ludicrous that they would think that, like, the row of dishonour of the SFA towards, or against Celtic rather, you don't have to look too far. We did the chronicles about the Doogie. You've obviously got Hugh Dallas and the email. It's his very son who was making that decision, the sort of kingmaker in that last night. Jim McCluskey, Bobby Tate, Tiny Wharton,
aye.
Jim Farry. The list is endless.
This is just like being in the pub with you two. You're just like rhyming off these bastards. Like, fucking that guy, yeah, this one.
So yeah, I think it's crazy. In terms of the decision itself, like, I honestly don't understand how people think it can't be a penalty. Like, how high his hand is up. People are saying, "No, there's only one camera," but the camera has shown enough evidence to put him bang to rights. So it's crazy. I also don't understand all the outside noise. I was thinking about this today. I think the reason why they're so appalled and that sort of faux anger is they know it's a penalty. They're disappointed that the player made such a rash decision, and they hate us that much that it seems so unjust.
A club born of immigrants.
Yeah.
A Catholic club.
How could they do that to us?
A club that supports the Republican movement, Palestine. No wonder they hate us.
Yeah, that's it.
Stuart, what about yourself? The SFA, we're in cahoots. The Vatican-assisted referee. I love that part. Vatican-assisted referees.
That is good part, to be fair.
What's your thoughts? It's ludicrous, right?
It's mad. It's really mad. I think that it's really weird that across... It seems only in the last 2 weeks that this... Michael Stewart, how was it he put it? There's people that are talking like quite outwardly about the notion of conspiracy theories. They're saying, now, I'm not saying that something's happening, but I think it should be looked at. Michael Stewart was talking about... Can
I give you that quote just so you can... So the quote from Michael Stewart. I mean, it's quite extraordinary the circumstances we find ourselves in with the title race being so tight. I've seen somebody claim this to be the worst VAR decision they've ever seen, and there's a lot of competition for that, which is extraordinary given the circumstances. That's not for me. That's not me that's saying that. That's not me that's saying that, by the way. That's some person I've not even named.
The person that he's naming is Gary Lineker as well. That's who had that headline tweet, and I'm telling you, Gary Lineker has not watched that. He's not watched the game. He's barely watched the clip. It's just that it was a slow news day last night, and I said earlier, if something had happened in the Man City game, none of these people would be interested.
Yeah. I've been banned from Hampden for suggesting such things. Oh, he's such a warrior of truth and decency. There was this decision. Okay, so this is the point. There was a decision at Tynecastle last Monday where the same VAR, Andrew Dallas, gave a check complete on an instant when Sterling handballed it, which hit his elbow. And the guidance from Willie Collum off the back of that was that it was to be viewed as a natural footballing challenge. Now I don't understand how you can claim that on the instant at Tynecastle and then the same VAR official looks at that and doesn't see that as a normal footballing challenge. It's not a normal challenge. His arm is there because of Austin Trusty. I don't know how that works. Did he grab his arm and pull it up? And the circumstances that surround him, I just find it extraordinary. In the last 3 games, there have now been 6 VAR decisions which are crucial in determining where the title may land eventually, and every one of them has gone against Hearts. How is... And it's... What about Motherwell?
Well, yeah. I think he... And in that same...
Sorry, and it says, and it's no wonder there are many people around the country who are questioning what is going on.
He then went on to expand and say, and do you know what, if we're talking about the Callum Slattery one, let's call it 7. So that was the penalty where he quite clearly slips and it's cleared very quickly. There's no looking at the monitors, there's no nothing. He's not even really claiming for it.
They didn't mention the Dyson one, did they?
They certainly not with the same amount of pearl clutching as they have with this last one, but this is what's maybe bothering me about the whole thing, is that to talk about that 6 or 7 decisions, it makes it seem as if every game is refereed perfectly except anything that involves Hearts. Literally last week, 2 weeks ago when we play Hibs, the player handles the ball in, almost like acknowledges that himself with a kind of like, I can't believe that's been given. And then you have a really blatant penalty that we're not given, both of which could have either cost us the league or made it almost untenable from a goal difference perspective, dependent on how other results go. Then in the Hearts Motherwell game, just before the split, you've got the incident with Kabori where they give a penalty that by even letter of the law stuff is almost unanimously like that's not a penalty. They get over the line. You've got earlier in the season where Lauren Shanklin again talks really openly to the press about how he handled the ball in the build up to a goal. One of two pretty dodgy goals that they had against Rangers that got them 3 points at Ibrox.
Big Rangers man here.
Big Ranger. I never missed a game, except well, we'll get on to him later.
Danny Rowe's hair system.
yeah, that's my pub quiz team. Just there's so many. Celtic have had so many. Hearts have had a couple. Rangers have had plenty. This is not some sort of conspiracy. I think that people are really, really set on Hearts winning the league for the sort of fairy tale element of it. I understand that. We were talking about like are we the baddies? Like, I think it's very clear now we are painted as the baddies, as if there's this conspiratorial element to it. But it's kind of nonsense. I think folk have just genuinely tired of Celtic doing the late show. That's now, what was that table? The 9th or 10th time this season.
I think it's 19 points.
19 points we've had post 80 minutes or something like that, but most of them have been 90, 95. I think even the way that some of it was reported last night, where it was referred to as a 99th minute penalty, which also then starts to be like, why the fuck are they getting 9 minutes of injury time? Well, they didn't. There was 5 minutes of injury time, and the incident happened like 4.5 minutes into that.
Anthony Ralston throws the ball at like 94 minutes and 50 seconds.
Yeah, and then the fact 10
seconds before
the final whistle goes after the penalty, because as soon as that ball's cleared, if he doesn't handle it or foul Trusty, the game's over. So it is literally the very last action of the game. And I think that is ultimately frustrating. We talked a little bit about before, maybe it's a coping mechanism that Hearts themselves don't quite believe they could get over the line at Celtic Park. Personally, I think they absolutely could. Like, the way that Celtic play, they absolutely can still get over the line and may well. But to almost like preempt it that if they don't get across the line on Saturday, it's because there was a conspiracy. It's just absolute nonsense.
It's just a couple of bits. Penalties awarded via VAR intervention. October 2022 to May 2026. Total VAR penalties. Guess who's top? Rangers. Guess who's second? Hearts. Celtic are third. And then if you look at awarded versus conceded, so Rangers have been given 21-4 in terms of like VAR looking at 6 against, which is mental, right? Everybody else is in double figures. Rangers have 6 against using VAR. Hearts 4-18 against 14. Celtic 4-16 against 15. So penalties awarded in VAR intervention overall is, according to IFAB laws of the game, it is a handball offence if a player touches the ball with their hand or arm when the hand/arm is clearly above, beyond, or shoulder level, even if the contact is accidental. That's not me saying it. That's IFAB laws of the game, Law 12. That's not even me.
That's big business.
It's big business.
Neil McCann over here.
Yeah. And another thing, in terms of the, do you know what? I want to play just a clip, right? Like, this is what Derek McKinnon said post-match. It's not all of his comments. It's just the brief, most important parts.
When you heard Celtic get a 96-minute penalty and it was going to VAR, and they were checking it, you just assume what's happened as they get the penalty, and having seen it again, I think it's disgusting. It is. I don't think it's a penalty kick, but we're up against it. We're up against everybody, and we'll be ready for Saturday.
You need to use that as a siege mentality then. I mean, disgusting's quite strong language.
Yeah, I don't think it's a penalty kick. There was 2 more shouts for a penalty kick at our game at Motherwell. If I'm Motherwell, I'm really disappointed with that. I haven't seen it again. I've seen it before I came out to speak to you, and I think it's so poor that they've been given that penalty, and it looks as if they've been given it. I think they've been very fortunate on that side of it, and we have to realise we're up against everything. We need to go and deal with the game on Saturday.
So, I mean, that's what Derek McInnes said after the game. It's disgusting. Like, Derek McInnes doesn't have a great vocabulary anyway, I'd imagine.
Good singer though.
He is, Barry.
Yes. Knees up.
Aye.
More ways than one.
That's it. He said we're up against it. And then he's basically insinuated that Celtic have been given it, even though it wasn't a penalty. Up against everything and everyone. Barry, I mean, he should be, dragged across the coals for this. It's remember Brendan Rodgers got done. Was it the beginning of this season or last season?
Last season, it was the one where Yang had the high boot, wasn't it? Because he said
kicked in the face,
beaten. Yeah. Yeah, it's mental. Like Stuart says, like this whole narrative that the whole world's against Hearts, like, is the complete opposite. Everyone wants Hearts to win, apart from Celtic and Hibs fans. And you've seen that from the people who got involved, as we mentioned, Lineker and Jeff Stelling, etc. So I saw another clip on the news tonight where he was saying, like, I heard there was a penalty, I didn't even have to guess who it was for and all that. It's like, you can hear the press laughing, like, Dell's one of the good guys, is he? Aye. But yeah, I think Stu's kind of nailed it when he said this is them preparing themselves for the worst, so that they've got an excuse already, like, we were never going to be allowed to win it, that kind of narrative. And again, it could have been someone running through and goal and having both their legs taken away, both legs broken, and he still wouldn't have accepted it was a penalty. So It doesn't even matter the sort of the strength of the call for a penalty, because if you're that way inclined, you're just never going to accept it. It's just that's to me why I mentioned earlier, I think they know it's a penalty, but they're just never going to accept it because of how much they dislike us and how much this narrative's built that it would be good for Scottish football. So they can dress it up any way they like. It was a penalty fair and square. It just happened to be the last kick of the ball. That's not our fault. But an infringement or a foul play or whatever you want to call it in the penalty box is always going to be given. So they just need to suck it up. As we were told by Chris Boyd in that Hibs game, you just need to go on with it.
Just need to, these things balance themselves out usually. Sure.
The one thing that he's right about in that is that Celtic got lucky, because Celtic were not scoring. In those last minutes, we'd run out of ideas. If anything, Motherwell looked in the ascendancy. But we got lucky in that the Motherwell player makes a daft challenge. Like, 3 of them are drawn to Trusty in an effort to kind of clear the ball. I suspect this will definitely be one where it's like the audio comes out. I'm quite sure that'll be in the next week or 10 days. I suspect they're looking at the elbow first of all, because that's the more blatant thing.
That's what I thought it was.
Trusty goes down
TV,
holding his head. Certainly at a first glance, I don't see a handball, because I'm not looking for that, because I see my players been elbowed. And I think that VAR will have looked at that, gone looking for an elbow and gone, don't know about the elbow, but I think he handles it. And then they'll look at it and they'll go, he's definitely handled that. You need to go and look at it. So when Beaton's been called over, the other thing they keep talking about is how, and I know that you flagged this, VAR takes too long. VAR's not taking long enough. Using the benchmark of, the West Ham Arsenal decision.
Why are we benchmarking ourselves against another country?
Why are you benchmark, especially when whatever their spend on VAR is must be 10x what we are paying.
Easy.
And you have professionals that are running it as well. And I suspect that he's been given that information. Like, there's a clear hand you just need to see, and he's gone over, and when he sees it's a hand, he's gone, yeah, there's nothing I can do about that. Fair enough. So Celtic got lucky in that the instant took place, but the instant, it's not like you can't justify giving a penalty for that. And obviously it's only been strengthened by the stills that have come out, the different angles that have come out. For people, obviously Barry, you were at the game, you wouldn't have seen this. John Robertson, Paul Hartley,
I've got a John Robertson clip for you,
and Chris Boyd, the 3 of them just being like, there is no way that you can justify that.
I need to play it. I need to play it.
I don't know if it's actually hit his hand, because you look at the power of the head here. I think that's a head. I'm looking at my maroon tinted spectacles here, but his hand's up, and if it's hit his hand, of course it's a penalty. But look at the power he gets on that. That's a head.
You're not seeing it through maroon tinted spectacles. I mean,
that's a head.
For that to fly off his head at that pace, it quite clearly. Yes, his hand's it, but if your hand hits a ball, it's just going to drop right in front of you. It's not going to fly off it like that.
Header.
And I tell you, I mean, it's 3 massive calls in the last 3 games. The penalty kick at Motherwell on Saturday night, the red card against Alistair Johnson Saturday, and that there tonight is incredible.
Paul?
And there'll be serious questions asked about it, and rightly so.
There'll be serious questions asked about it. What does that mean, Barry? It's a bizarre way to end that.
It is. It's dangerous, I think. We were speaking before we came on air. I know we'll get to Mr. McCoy's, but years ago when he did the whole "Who are these people?" Like,
we need to know who are on the panel, this discipline. We need to know.
It's suggesting it's sinister enough without going the whole hog, and everyone can read through the lines what he means by that. And I thought there would maybe a wee bit of retraction or kind of climbing down from Boyd today, but he was on the thing. What's that? It's like
the build up or something.
It's like the Scottish cheap version of the overlap, isn't it? And he's kind of doubling down on it, but. Yeah, it's just, again, touch wood that Saturday goes the way we want it to, and I think this midweek will seem like nothing compared to the shitstorm that will come if we are allowed to win this league, because they've already lost the run on themselves. And yeah, I've only kind of heard some of those clips, and John Robertson, fair enough, you can understand, and Boyd, but from all accounts, Paul Hartley was
pretty bad as well.
Yeah, Hartley was pretty bad, which is disappointing considering he at one point was the Celtic captain.
That's true.
So
I kind of feel like he's obviously played for Hearts as well, and he'll be giving it, oh well, I'm a Celtic fan and they've won enough, it would be good to give Hearts this win. I'm like, nah, it wouldn't.
John Robertson is obviously suffering from PTSD now more than ever, and I get that from, you know, his experience 40 years ago and how it maybe feels like history's repeating itself, where you've got this, you know, last minute situation that's come up that might rob Hearts of the league. With Boyd though, I honestly think that Sky probably have a responsibility to step in somewhat, in the same way that, like, you can't have it turning into a Fox News situation. And I bumped into one of my friends earlier on when I was out on a walk, and saying some of it's quite Trumpy, and you can't just speak this into existence.
Yeah.
You can't just be like, well, there's a conspiracy because of this, this and this. And you're like, what are you talking about? And Charlie Mulgrew earlier on with his comments was kind of saying it would have been better to have some more balance in the studio. I understand that. I understand why Sky wanted the coverage at Tynecastle in case they won the league, and they've got this historic thing. The coverage at Fir Park was pathetic. They basically had cameras set up. They didn't have any halftime analysis. They didn't have any pundits. They didn't have a host. There was no real post-match analysis. It was all sort of tossed across to three other quite biased people. So you can talk about maroon tinted specs, but they're helping build a narrative that's really run away with itself. And in every article about it that you're seeing today, because it's become such a hot story, these are quotes that are being taken, and it's three people that are egging each other on.
I couldn't agree more. Just the also look like I'm not a big sort of science guy. I know you guys are very clever, but the idea that if it was his handball, that the ball would have just stopped, that motion would have just stopped, and it would have fallen to the ground.
They're eating the dogs. They're eating the dogs.
Yes,
that's what it is. It's just like it's fucking drivel. It's really embarrassing.
No, I'd have loved to have seen like the conversation when they went for a break, however. Like, they would have been egging each other on, right, we'll go down the science route. Like, what the hell is going on?
Someone's quickly doing their Pythagoras.
Yeah, and I know that we're going to come on to like our sort of favourite memes or whatever, but I just loved how those guys, I think it was from the Blantyre commercial CSC or whatever, went out and filmed the
header,
aye, and
4 million views so far.
Is that right?
Aye.
Also, they keep talking about how it's gone like 20 yards out of play. The ball doesn't go to it. It barely clears the box.
Yeah.
Yeah, aye. It's just wild, the whole like if that hits he headers it, because if it hits his hand it drops to the ground. Like, are you simple? It's insane.
I don't understand why none of them were. This is what we wanted. Nobody, well, other than I think everyone wants Hearts to win the league outside of Celtic and Hibs. That's quite clear. I think everyone wants to see that happen on the last day so that they get their cake of having the final day showdown, like the biggest game in Scottish football history, and they get the result they want.
Yeah.
And now the fact that, like, right, we do want that, but I don't think we're going to get the outcome we want, and so they're a bit sad about that. But if anything, it should be an exciting thing. Like, now it's just a cup final instead of like Hearts playing for Snickers in the final day. So it is a positive thing.
See all this stuff as well. There's been a lot of pish this week about who deserves to win the league. The team that finishes top.
Yeah.
Celtic have had such a fucking up and down season. It's been brutal, right? But we've lurched from one lurched from one sort of, the word I'm looking for is when things disaster lurched from one disaster to the next, and that's happened in various points through the season, and it's still taken to the last game of the day of the season. If we win the last day and we win the league, we deserve to win the league.
Yeah.
Hearts have, how many games have they won since the split? One? They beat Rangers.
They've won 3 out of the 4.
No, they drew with Motherwell. I don't think they have.
They beat Hibs, they beat Rangers, they beat Falkirk, and they drew with Motherwell.
Shut up.
Sorry.
Well, they drew that one game. but the point being though, like, to me it's like Hearts are there because Celtic have been so shite.
See, on that as well, just again with the narrative, and I feel like the Hearts fans and Rangers fans and all the rest have kind of gone in heavy in this. But see, if you take it from a Motherwell point of view, I've seen some Motherwell fans online today saying like, "Oh, that drop, that losing a point could cost us Europe," but they've won in the last 10 games.
Exactly.
So that's what would happen. But it's crazy. Like I always think back to VAR. Like Rangers insisted on it that we needed VAR because of decisions going against them.
Sort everything out.
And then they're not happy with it, so they're never going to be happy. They're just unhappy people.
I would argue that, and obviously, Chris Boyd's not going to agree with me, but the Kizaridis penalty at the Motherwell game and that penalty last night are two excellent examples of how VAR should be used.
Yes.
That you don't immediately assume, because someone's gone down in the box and they're taking a look at it, that's the decision. Nobody wants that. And then also this comment of like, you're re-refereeing the games. The referee doesn't see it in real time, so it's not a clear and obvious error. How's the referee supposed to see that? Because it
happens so quickly.
It happens so quickly. There's a lot going on. There's 3 players involved. So it seems like the perfect application of it. A weird application of it would be instance like the Maeda thing that doesn't really get checked. The referee doesn't go and have another look at that to see, Maeda gets wiped out.
He leads to his fucking knee, the goalkeeper.
It's really dangerous. I saw people saying Maeda's claiming for it or playing for it. One, wouldn't he do that? And he's just tracking the ball. And things like the Joe Newell goal, that's a terrible application of it, where you are seeing the same pictures over and over again and then saying, well, we don't have conclusive proof, so therefore we stick with the thing. So VAR is not used properly in Scotland. It's probably underfunded. It's definitely badly implemented. But these 2 examples that people are so up in arms about are actually quite good examples of why it should be in the game.
Yeah, it should be celebrated as a success of it.
We'll have one more clip and then that'll be it. It's just I want to get this one out as well.
What's your view on it?
It's a disgrace, honestly. So we'll go into the West Ham Arsenal game, and everybody understands. I dislike VAR, and other people do, but they understand how big a decision that is, the severity of the decision. And I think, what did it take, Tom? Tom, you're good with that. Was it 6 minutes, 5 or 6 minutes to make that decision? Because everyone understood how big a decision that was. Mm-hmm. He was at the camera for 20 seconds. People will think that I'm saying it from a heart's persuasion because the way it was unfolding and the sort of anger. I genuinely mean this, saying it from a neutral position. If that's a penalty, that is absolute garbage.
One thing I'll say is how he has a job in broadcasting. I don't know, but he's speaking from a neutral point of view. Former Hearts player Ryan Stevenson, who's basically spent the whole season trying to get under Celtic fans' skin and trying to proclaim Hearts the greatest team in Scotland, etc., is now VAR's ruining football. It's like we did a reaction yesterday, and it was like VAR is ruining football because it's taking everything too long. It's now ruining football because it's not taking long enough. The VR checks can't have it each week, can you, buddy?
No, yeah, and it's just whatever you don't like, you can just call it out, and that shouldn't be the way it is until it is the way you want it, but it doesn't suit your narrative. So it's crazy. A kind of no mark player like him,
a chump.
Go and get another tattoo in your face.
Chump.
See, in reference to the Arsenal West Ham one, I presume you've both seen that. I don't know if you watched it in real time or seen the clips afterwards. That's an example. Without VAR, Arsenal don't win the league. And that in particular, it wasn't just. I think you can make a false equivalency between these 2 decisions might have a bearing on the title and in the West Ham game relegation as well. But I think the issue was there was about 5 or 6 fouls going on at the time that the West Ham player fouls, quote unquote, the Arsenal keeper. So that's a really complex decision anyway, so I can understand why that takes 4 or 5 minutes. In a situation like this, as I say, we don't know for definite that they've gone to look for the elbow. They look at the elbow, they say, listen, John, there's been a handball.
Brother.
You're not going to want to hear this, but there's been a handball. From Trusty? No. I'm afraid not. So he knows what he's going to look for when he goes to the screen, instead of I haven't listened to the full audio of the West Ham one. The referees literally like, tell me what I'm supposed to be looking at here because it's such a shit show. And they're not the same thing. No. And yeah, it's false equivalencies. You've got people that are really disappointed because even the way the game went last night, where it looked like Celtic were sort of out of it and then they got back into it and then they're out of it again. I think people were just quite happy that they were going to have this big moment and it's been taken away from them. And yeah, it's sad. It's sad, Chris.
Yeah, Alan McCoy said this. I do not get like speaking about him at all. He's just not. I just do not like
dangerous.
him. Dangerous. So he said this: a horrendous decision that has once again embarrassed Scottish football. I don't think I'm letting any secrets out the bag when I say that unfortunately that referee has had experiences with Celtic fans as well, not good ones. He's a human being and that might have been in his thinking as well because he made a decision a few years ago which was against Celtic and the fans turned on him. I don't think his life was very pleasant for a while. I'm just trying to think logically how he would make that decision. But equally, on VAR, are we trying to tell each other that this is clear and obvious errors? Come on. I spoke to 6 or 7 guys, just 6 or 7 random guys.
Richard Gough, Ian Gerrard.
The Devil. Jimmy Bell, because they're obviously in cahoots. Last night, and 5 of them mentioned the word corruption or cheating. So, essentially... Oh, go on.
I would like to see the club defend themselves against some of this.
This is my point.
I'm sure.
Right?
Sorry.
So essentially, Alan McCoy is coming out saying that Celtic the reason that John Beaton gave that is because of potential intimidation and provocation from Celtic fans that would make his life miserable. He's then talking about corruption, cheating, etc. As we mentioned, this is a guy who in the past demanded to know names of the disciplinary panel. I have the right to know, the club has the right to know, the supporters have the right to know.
Do you know what names he would have been looking for?
I think I do, man.
With an O at the start.
That's it. This is dangerous rhetoric. And cheeky chappy McCoy gets away with his bile once again.
Do you know what I love? See, like thinking, like remember Rangers had the John Beaton RSC, Crown Bar, Loyal, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then they all made a joke of the penalty Rangers thing. Like, those jokes sadly fell away, didn't they, when VAR came in because they weren't getting as many as they wanted. But I just think McCoy's is very, very dangerous. Like, those comments are outrageous.
Inflammatory.
Yeah.
It could incense violence.
Mm-hmm. And then I go back to, like I mentioned right at the start, the Hugh Dallas history, Jim McCluskey singing songs down the phone, etc. So there's one club who's benefited from
corruption,
proven corruption. He himself benefited from EBTs, didn't he?
He did.
So yeah, I would keep your own house in order before you start throwing out things like that. But I agree with Stu. I think Celtic need to do something about this.
I think the issue is you don't know quite where to direct that because the club are. Well, I suspect that the difference between Celtic and Hearts for the remainder of this build-up is that I don't think anyone's going to be talking about that at Celtic. I don't think, other than having to field questions about it at the presser, Martin O'Neill's going to be talking to the players about it. Whereas McInnes has gone full Keegan and like made it the whole like battle cry. And I suppose it's just where do you aim that at? You've got the Hearts Supporters Guild or whatever it was that came out with quite a robust statement, and a lot of it is just designed to ramp up the pressure on
their own
is
team.
It Robertson?
Don Robertson.
Robertson.
Yeah.
Who was on VAR for the Newell goal as well.
Do you think there's a chance that they'll try and correct it, in inverted commas, on Saturday?
There is every chance, I think, but I hope we are smart enough to be squeaky clean, or as squeaky clean as we can be.
Yeah.
It just feels like any chance on Saturday, we'll talk about Saturday in a couple of minutes, but feels like any chance that they get to even the score, in inverted commas, they will take it.
You know what I think will happen, and which is often the case? I would imagine there'll be a lot of breakups in play for small fouls to stop our rhythm, to stop what we would hope would be 100-mile-an-hour start, to try and blow them away early doors. You'd imagine them be infringements, things pulled back, not allowing to quick free kicks, etc. like that. So anything they can do, I'd imagine that you probably will see that, because as Stu says, the pressure being ramped up on the referee on Saturday will be like something probably never ever seen before.
The Heart Foundation of Hearts, or Heart Foundation Bret Hart and Bill Neidhart, whatever. They released a statement, extremely concerned about a number of refereeing and VAR decisions across the last 2 rounds of fixtures, which has had a significant impact on outcomes for Hearts and others. That this has occurred at such a crucial stage of the season is particularly disappointing. If it happened at the beginning of the season when you got when St Mirren get a disallowed goal, as an example, who cares? But it's happening and it's affecting us now. So that's not fair. We understand that the club shares these concerns and has made representations to the Football Authority seeking clarification on recent decisions. Fuck up. Know what I mean? Just fuck up. So the media reaction, we'll finish up this wee section, right? Any favourite tweets, reactions, Stuart?
I thought Ewan Murray was literally going to cry on
yes.
the Guardian Football Weekly. He was talking about how Celtic fans are contorting themselves into justification that it was a penalty. I'm like, it's not that much of a contortion to see a picture of him handling the ball. And understand there was some like AI images that were going around, but there's also like Alamy images from official photographers, and it's not that much of a reach. You know what I mean? Like, and it's interesting. People like Ewan Murray, Ali McCoist are sort of gateways for the wider English media. You've got McCoist, who's so ubiquitous now in English football, and you cannot turn on a game without him fucking commenting on it. And then he's on Talk Sports. Then you've got Simon Jordan and Jim White, who's obviously, whatever. And people that aren't really as educated or clued up about the ins and outs of it week to week. Same with, your Barry Glendenings, your Max Rushdens, these sorts of characters that just on the face of it are like, it'd be good to see a different team win. It'd be nice in the same way that Leicester won the league. That'd be fun.
They would pay no attention to Scottish
afterwards,
football.
exactly. No, they just want to see the clip. And it's really evident listening to them. So you have people that are like feeding them this narrative, and if I'd give Ewan Murray a shred of credit, and I would do it so begrudgingly, it's that he is quite open about it. He's like, I'm obviously got skin in the game and I'm very biased with this, but this is how it is. And then you get this condescending pish from him, and I don't want to go full Keegan, but I would love it if we beat them. It's that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Just what I think in regard to like when you see like Alan Shearer and what do you call him, Gary Lineker and all these people and all these English peoples, they're just using that as an example to justify their point about their own VAR situation. Yeah. They do not care about Scottish football. They mock it. They do not give a fuck about it. When you have Henrik Larsson going on the overlap and they're like, you were good at Celtic, but remember you were at Man United. Like, they do not give a flying fuck. So ignore them, get them to fuck, and Barry.
Yeah, it is. I just find it very patronising. But in terms of my favourite meme, I like the kind of famous video from like the mum saying to the two wee girls, disgusting. It was like Derek McInnes to Andrew Dallas and John Beaton to his fucking oneys. Yeah, that one tickled me. But there's been a lot of great content. Weirdly, some of the I don't know why people would make the AI images. Like, so many people fall. I think Tommy Sheridan fell for the one that's got like the two balls and the old Barclays. Remember the Barclays Premier League badge? So yeah, there's no need for that. But I'm just delighted there is, as Stu says, that Alamy picture, and then I think Celtic's unique angle. People have kind of taken stills of that, and you can see the hand is up. So yeah, it's box office, I suppose, isn't it? And it won't go away, but it'll make, if God willing, if we win on Saturday, that wee bit sweeter that everyone is against us, not Hearts, as Derek McInnes says.
Also, has to be said, you still got to score your penalty, and there's nothing to say that Shankland scores against Motherwell, and nothing to say that last night, unless you've got one of the coldest MFers on planet Earth, that we score last night either, because we've got a dreadful record from the penalty spot, or at least we used to.
The senior man.
Before we signed the specialist.
Martin O'Neill on the penalty on Ian Atcho. He said, a really frustrating time this season with hamstring problems, but he's come up big for us these last few weeks. We were absolutely big, and he was the one taking the penalty, and I was delighted that he was the one taking it. As again, when you read Martin O'Neill, because of how he speaks.
Sorry to jump in there, but I wasn't sure if I read that right, but hearing you say that, I think it might be because there's a clip where it cuts to the bench just as Scales hands over the ball, and I'm sure he says who's taking it, I was like, I would like to think you would know, Martin.
No. He mentions that.
Oh, does
so
he? Yeah,
he
sorry.
says.
Was Engels still on at the time?
Yes. So listen, right. When Gavin said, "So do you know what this is?" This is honestly, God, Martin, please, please.
Less is more.
Yes. Do you know what? Right. Okay. So he always does that. It's easy for me to say this now. Penalty taking is still very, very difficult under the circumstances. But do you know what? I actually fancied him. Talking about Iheanacho. When Gavin said to me it was either him or Arne Engels to take it, I really didn't mind. But when it came to that point, I was pleased that he wanted to take it because it's the most important thing. Actually, I did watch it. Believe it or not, I did. I saw it going into the corner. I probably didn't really want to watch it. So it takes us to the finale. Whatever comes or goes, at least we've got to the end, which looked a million miles off.
See, I think we spoke last week about when he was saying, like, he was asked why he doesn't celebrate like he used to, and he said like he's older now and he doesn't know it was a goal, but there's a picture of him that was rolling back the years where he's visibly off the ground, and I loved how he came up to the away support last night, and that's because he hasn't really done that much. I know at Hibs he maybe did a wee wave and stuff like that, but what I will say as well, I thought that him and McGregor were really sort of mature, that they were telling the players not to milk it too much. You could see them like shouting the players to come down because there's obviously still a job to do. But yeah, just on Iheanacho, the coolness and the calmness, I think you described it really well in the reaction, Gall, about how he sort of sizes the goalkeeper up. Doesn't even really look where he's putting it because his eyes are fixed on the goalkeeper, and I think even if the keeper had dived that way, it was so far in the corner that he probably wouldn't have saved it anyway. So yeah, he's had a huge part to play, and again, I don't know, I kind of feel like he might not be here next year, but he'll kind of write himself into folklore if it goes the way we want it to.
Do you know what? I try to be one of these sort of modern guys where it's like, you know, we need to look at data and analytics and all that, and we need to sign blah, blah, blah. See, the thing is, give him a 5-year deal. Rest of his career.
Make him the captain.
Make him the captain.
If Kelechi Iheanacho needs somewhere to just hang out and occasionally play 15 minutes of football, why not? That's what I say.
The penalty's incredible though, Stuart, right?
It's brilliant, and I think it's been spoken about in the build-up to this that everyone's like, I don't think I've ever seen him phased. I think it was probably after the one, it was Kilmarnock, wasn't it? Same thing. That was pretty much in the injury time as well. Like last kick of the ball stuff. So I think it's really funny that he has this reputation, and then in his post-match he was like, he's got such a funny, like a mild-mannered way of speaking.
He's so soft-spoken.
He was like, it was a bit scary actually. I just think that's so funny. And then the unique angle video of him like screaming into the camera is just amazing. And also hats off to whoever the cam op is on the unique angle, because we've seen crazy moments. Like if you think about the Adam Eder Cup final goal and stuff, and they keep the camera on the sticks and they don't go anywhere, and he obviously knows,
fuck this,
or she, sorry, whoever is operating that camera knows as soon as this goes in, there's going to be bedlam, and they just put themselves and their very expensive camera in the line of fire and get right in amongst it, and it was amazing to see.
There's something about, you know, everyone who comes through our youth academy isn't always a Celtic fan, or if they're a Celtic fan, a lot of them are fans who have devoted themselves, I'm going somewhere with this by the way, have devoted themselves to like youth football and all that, so don't always attend games and stuff. Kobe Donovan was in the crowd, and that really clicked with me.
Yeah,
I rate him. I don't know if he's good enough ultimately to be a Celtic starting right back, right? Yeah. But what I do know is he is a Celtic fan, and I think he's got adequate. He's shown enough for me that he should be given an opportunity at some point next season. It's just great to see actual Celtic fans that are good.
Yeah.
In the crowd and that.
Yeah, I'm the exact same. And you saw, I think you'd have to be very cold-hearted not to kind of be delighted with that and to see him on the pitch. And I think someone said Ralston. I think it might have actually been Engels he was hugging at the end, but either way it doesn't matter. And just that passion and being a part of it from the stands, but also with your teammates as well. He's kind of ticked both boxes. I rate him as well, but I thought it was incredibly harsh that someone commented on the photo that's him in his best position. I understand. But yeah,
it's a great bit. It's a great bit.
Just love that. And I actually thought when you were saying about not all of the youth players would make it, I thought you were going to say give them a job as the unique angle camera, train them up.
Why not?
Put their skills to other uses. But yeah, it was just the passion there, and I think it is so. I think that we've grown up where we kind of heard stories of our history about these sort of dyed-in-the-wool Celtic fans who have had the opportunity to play for us, and it means that wee bit more, I think, rightly or wrongly, but I think it does.
Yeah.
Speaking of people that don't support Celtic, where the fuck did Kasper Schmeichel come from? He wasn't in the crowd, but I also don't believe that he's got the turn of pace to get up to that melee just as he did.
I loved it, but I'm not the biggest fan of him, but it was great to see that kind of footage of his.
I know.
You were at the game yesterday. What was the atmosphere like? Let's talk about the game briefly, because it wasn't a particularly good performance.
Yeah, there was just a sort of air of expectation all day yesterday, and then obviously getting there. There's a bit of hassle getting in, which just tends to be the case at Fir Park, but once you got in, and the tifo was great.
Tifo was really good.
The Fighting Irish, and I thought the atmosphere was really good to start with. Obviously, you take a bit of a hit when Motherwell score and you start to feel the worst, but getting the goal before half time was crucial. Going ahead, and then you're pegged back again. But I thought the crowd kind of kept with the team throughout. I think O'Neill and McGregor kind of commented on that, how the fans drove them on, but it was just absolute bedlam when we scored. I saw loads of people I knew as I was coming out, and there was a guy I used to work with years ago, and an older guy, and he said, I thought I'd seen it all with Celtic, but that will live long in the memory, like getting a penalty as crucial as that. And there was a lot of people who couldn't watch the penalty, and rightly, I don't blame them for that. And just disbelief when you saw Beaton kind of running over to point to the spot. But it was just a pleasure to be there, and the scenes at the end were incredible, and just a really good night. So yeah, it's just kind of whet the appetite so much for Saturday, and just praying so much that it comes through for us.
There was a bit, I think it was like the 92nd minute, and Motherwell had the ball in and around our box, and then there was a chat that come on the hoops, just kept, you heard it in the background, and I just thought, fucking, that's it. That is it.
Yeah,
that's what it's all about. Stuart, Celtic defensively just can't keep a clean sheet when it comes to these kind of high pressured games. I wasn't impressed with Trusty or Scales yesterday. I thought they were both at fault for a number of situations. The one where Scales literally passes it to the Motherwell player
when it was two each
on the edge of the box. Trusty, I mean, he's quite weak physically. What did you make of it? Their defence and just the game overall?
You know that noise that Gary Neville sometimes makes involuntarily when like someone leaves a short back pass and he's like, oh! I must have done that about 6 or 7 times. I thought that first things first, like, credit to Motherwell. I think they are just a really good side. They've got lots of really good individual players, and then those players that are less technical and talented have just bought in completely, and I think that will be our toughest test of the split, potentially. So I just thought they were really good, and it was so fucking annoying that normally when you've gone 2-1 up and you feel like we're now riding the momentum, they just would not go away. You almost want them to be like, fuck off, want to just piss off and just not trying to score. But like the 5 minutes building up to their goal was absolutely brutal. The one that takes the deflection and then Maswanise, it looks like Sinisalo's like tangled in the net and he somehow gets to it, and then obviously there's like 3 blocks before they actually scored, and I just feel like we lost control, and I think that's something that we just don't really have the ability to do. I think even looking ahead to Saturday, I just don't think that we have it in us to control the game for 90 minutes. If you go ahead by a goal or two, we just can't take the sting out of the game, and that's really frustrating. It's difficult to watch. I think the players deserve so much for digging in and trying to. It wasn't a lack of effort. Like, people were throwing their bodies on the line, but you just needed them to take a breath, slow the game down, anything that they could do to just try and work their way back in and maybe try and get that third goal. But we just look susceptible to any big spells of pressure.
Yeah.
And then obviously that did sort of tell eventually.
I was just going to say, I've noticed a few times, particularly at Celtic Park, but it's almost as if the team are caught between what we used to have, because there's still some players there like McGregor, etc., and we no longer have the quality, because I've seen so many times where we maybe have gone 2 goals ahead, which doesn't feel a lot actually, but O'Neill is very much like calm the fuck down, whereas the muscle memory's probably still under, we don't stop, we try and go for more goals, but we don't have the quality to get them.
Yeah. So
the team isn't solid enough to kind of shut up shop and defend, so they kind of go that half and half. We'll try and get another goal, but we're so wasteful, so then that invites pressure that if we do get pegged back 1 goal, we maybe start to crumble as well. And I thought just what you were saying there, Stu, O'Neill kind of addressed that last night after the game as well. He's like, we have so much heart and effort, there is a lot of things lacking.
Yeah.
So he sort of insinuated things and sort of implied them. I think he knows the quality's not there, but what can you do at this stage of the season? It's got us to this point, and we just have to try and find it from somewhere else to get over the line and obviously try and win a double.
We've got the type of players who, so in the past we've had players who, when they're not performing well or they're not on form, they're less, it feels like them being off form isn't going to hinder us as much because you might have the other players on form, right? Whereas when Yang or Tenekte, I'm just picking those two specifically because they are wingers and they go up and down in form. When they're not in form, it almost hinders us to the point where they cause us.
Yeah.
They lose the ball in positions that cost us opportunities against us. Again, Yang less so, but Tenekte yesterday, man, like, I want to look at him and be like, okay, that there's someone there that the next manager, whoever it is, can mould, but I'm just not sure anymore.
See, just can I just jump in before Stu comes in?
Of course.
I think in the past, I totally agree with what you're saying. I think in the past we had that much quality that if someone was enough they could pick up the slack and you could maybe carry a couple of passengers, but we can't carry passengers now because they are directly impacting us, because I thought Teneke was dreadful last night. He was, like you say, he was hindering us because he didn't know where to be, and it wasn't like he wasn't trying. I just think he didn't have the skills to be defensive, like even positionally. So
sure,
yeah, I think if you look at the performance on Sunday, the Rangers game was Sunday, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think that's as close to like a 90-minute performance as we've had all season. I know that we weren't great in the first half, but over the piece, I think that's the closest that we've had to being comfortable, controlling a game, creating good chances, taking your chances, and being pretty robust defensively. And I felt like the difference between Sunday and last night was, again, just individuals, where I was joking about it that on the lunch club on Friday, I was slating Yang in the hope of jinxing him that we'd play really well, and I thought he was so good against Rangers, and then I thought he was dreadful last night. I just thought the only real contribution was getting folded for the goal. And he runs, he gives you so much effort, but I just feel like the decision making, you just can't rely on it, the quality. I don't know whether that's like being away from Celtic Park. Maybe if they feel more comfortable, there's more space. It could be anything. But even last night, Arne Engels, Cal McGregor, Teneke, just lots of players struggled, and then it's very, very hard to pull together a performance. And even he gets slated weekly. I was going absolutely losing my mind about Benjamin Nygren last night. Why is he on? And the goal that he scores is properly like world class. It's incredible. But other than that moment was just like a dead weight either side of his goal. I kind of felt like you got a bit more legs and a bit more control when Rail came on afterwards, but I just don't think, as you say, we have the quality to carry that, where once one or two start playing poorly, the whole like mean just gets dragged down.
Yeah.
And certainly I don't think that can be the case on Saturday. You would hope that the occasion won't allow for that to happen, but I think Hearts are too good a side, the way that they play, for that to be the case again, because I think we could struggle.
We're gonna finish talking about the Hearts game on Saturday, but just some quick fire thoughts. Obviously, stuff that's happened that we've not been able to cover. The derby, well, we have covered it on the Cynic.co. We had the agenda on Monday. We had the reaction to the derby, we had the agenda, and then we had the debrief. Very much focused on it. So the Cynic.co. If you can sign up, monthly payments, you can cancel at any time. We're also on Patreon. Check out the Cynic on Patreon. Thoughts on the derby overall, Barry? We were at it. It was incredible.
Yeah, one for ages. I thought it was, O'Neill mentioned it felt like a throwback to his time, and I totally agree with that. I thought the crowd were exceptional from the first whistle, and as Stuart says, it was as close to a complete performance as you're going to get from this team. That goal from Dyson, I think it is the best, not even best derby goal, I think it's maybe the best goal that I've seen in the flesh. And just the scenes, I'm just amazed that so many people had footage of it. Like, the people must just film the whole game, and normally I'd be like, just watch the game, but I'm delighted that they did, because the footage is incredible. And I loved the Celtic footage from behind the other goal, where Sinisawa just runs across the pitch, and I must have watched that, it's a bit of a cliche now, but I must have watched it over 100 times. And yeah, it was just a real good feel good factor in that. I kind of speaking to people saying like, oh, I hope that counts for something, but I was kind of saying it counts for something as a standalone as well. Like, it was a brilliant day.
Memory.
Brilliant day, and the atmosphere was great, and it was a real throwback to show you how good a cauldron Celtic Park can be if we're all pulling in the same direction.
Stuart, it was great. Just your kind of brief thoughts on it.
Yeah, I think that it was so important to win the game, but I think the way in which we won the game was really gives people confidence going into those last two games. And like you say, obviously in the context of the season important, but I think we needed to get the monkey off our back with regards to that fixture. Haven't played well, haven't really deserved to win a lot of those kind of previous 9 games that we're talking about. So I just thought it was brilliant, and Maeda's goal, such a special moment. And yeah, we've been so starved of highlights. Like, I know we're talking about doing like review pods for the season and stuff, as we tend to at the end of a season. And I'm thinking like, oh, what were the best goals and what were the best moments? And I think a lot of them are happening in the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But yeah, really special. And what I would say, pinch of salt, is that Rangers team are dreadful, and they are fucked with a capital fuck.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, like, Rangers have lost 4 in a row. They obviously lost to Hibs yesterday. Martin Boyle did Tavernier's celebration, which was hilarious. Tavernier had a meltdown.
Which he's doubled down on today. I don't know if you saw his statement. He's basically, for an under fire manager, the last thing you want is whatever you think of James Tavernier. He has been at that club for 11 years through thick and through very thick.
Thin? What's the bad one?
Thick and thin.
He's had a shocker. See, if you imagine when he signed, they're like, right, this is how the next 11 years are going to go. He's probably like, I'll just stay where I am. I don't want the smoke.
See, the thing is though, like, just on that with, like, what? Just play him.
I know.
The season's over. Just play him. Who cares?
I liked how he finished off. He said, "We are the people." I'd like someone to say, "What does that mean, James? What do you think that means?"
There's only 2 other groups of people who said we are the people. The Romans, like what happened to them, and the Nazis. Bad goods. Bad goods.
But like you say, like, in terms of adding fuel to the fire for his manager, he says, "I hope everyone gets behind the club and these players." No mention of the manager. I don't think he'll be in charge the first game of next season.
I don't think so either. I'm not convinced that they would win at the weekend, because I just think there's nothing.
Where are they, Falkirk?
Falkirk, yeah, where they've struggled other than that 6-2, whatever it was, 6-3 last season.
Yeah, they've struggled other than the time they went there and smashed them by South Wales.
That counted for something.
Celtic versus Hearts. Biggest game in Scottish football domestic history probably ever. Potentially, definitely in contemporary times. What's your confidence level and what's your fear level, Barry?
Confidence. My confidence level is kind of more thinking of the past almost, and how good Celtic Park can be.
Yeah.
But with the caveat that this isn't a normal Celtic team, and we have given them credit, rightly so, for that never say die attitude, but the quality is lacking, so that maybe affects my confidence levels. Fear is just, if we do not score within the first half, I think everything will just be ramped up. And I think, like Stu says, I think we would need to be going into the last 10 minutes 2 goals up for me to be any confident we're going to do it, because there will be nothing
2
worse.
2 goals up and then we concede in the 81st minute. Like,
yeah.
I think you need to be 3 goals up.
Yeah, and it's just, there was times last night, like we're into last night, obviously nervous and feeling excited, and then when they score, just all the feelings hit you like a truck of, what if we don't do this? And it's weird, because most of the season I haven't thought we were going to do it, but now when it comes down to nitty-gritty,
so close.
And I think most of that comes from how good we were on Sunday. Like Stuart says, I think, see that spell in the second half where we got the old double tap as copyright, you for saying it. Something like that would just be perfect on Saturday. So yeah, I think this will be the most nervous I've been going into a game since the St Johnstone game in 1998.
Good reference. Stu, there's little to no, there's no way to kind of recreate these sort of conditions for this current, both sets of players, right? Hearts are going to be out without Halkett, who's been ever present for them all season. Did you see Halkett and Leonard? They had the guys have got injuries, which is, they're going to be out for like 7 months or whatever. It's whatever. But like they had their jerseys and they were holding them up. Like, oh my god,
wee guy stuff in it.
It's ready, fucking ready, man. But like the conditions are going to be. It's just going to be incredible, I think. How would you like Celtic to approach it? Because it's 90 minutes. You can't win the game the first 10.
I would argue that that's maybe when you've got your best chance of doing so. Because
you can probably win in the first 10, actually.
I think that, generally speaking, I think Hearts have been really nervy the last few games. When I've seen them, like they were dreadful in that first half against Rangers. They've conceded early doors yesterday, albeit it was fractionally offside. VR conspiracy. I think that you have to just get after them. I think that unless you're 2 or 3 goals clear, they're not going to go away. When you're talking about things that you're worried about, really worried about Austin Trusty and Lawrence Shankland, because to be honest, I would probably back Shankland 8 times out of 10 against Trusty, and we know that as a tactic they've just sort of left Trusty on the ball to sort of deal with the build-up. And I think the good thing is obviously the atmosphere. We're a slightly different beast at home, and we can hopefully, if we have setbacks, the crowd will rally behind the team. But I think you want to try and take it away from them as quickly as you can if possible. But I'm very, very, very worried about it.
Yeah, I think in terms of the lineup, I think it'll be exactly the same with the exception of Tanecki. I think he'll start Forrest.
I think so too.
Yeah. And obviously that approach about, we just have to win the game. 1-0 will do. I know that's not comfortable for any of us, but 1-0 will do. I don't know. I'm just really nervous. I guess everyone will be, but
I think that the plan has always been to just try and get to this game, and then I think that I don't think they're taking it lightly, but I think that they hope that the occasion and all that will take care of itself, and that it might be too much for Hearts. And from a Hearts perspective, if you want to be the best, you've got to beat the best. And if they can come to Celtic Park and get a result, fair enough. Yeah, I don't think you're going to have many Celtic fans that would, obviously not going to be happy, but you wouldn't begrudge that they would be quite meriting of that, because Celtic are the informed team. There's 60,000 fans. There's only going to be a very small allocation of Hearts fans. That brings me a slight comfort as well that, if we do lose, we're not going to be playing that tune out of the tannoy, hopefully.
I'll be walking straight out as soon as the final whistle goes.
Into traffic.
Something that gave me a wee bit of confidence was, would you rather, imagine it was the other way around, imagine we were a point ahead and you had to go to Tynecastle.
Oh, absolutely not.
And a draw would be enough for you, or so that I thought, if you look at it from that point of view, as well as the course and distance and how good the atmosphere was on Saturday, and the Falkirk game before that, so the crowd are going to be up for it, and you just hope that we make it a cauldron that the Hearts players shit themselves. I
think they won't. This Celtic team has played big European ties. They've went to Ibrox, and they've played at Tynecastle, and we have that experience. Not all these players, but a lot of them have had the experience of coming through really big tests. This Hearts team you could argue they've passed almost every test they've had this season, but this is different. This is big boy football. Okay.
That's the bit that gets clipped up of it.
I know. I mean, see, the thing about it is, ultimately, it just does come down to this game, and it's what we all would have hoped for. Yeah. And whatever happens, and we just have to leave it in the lap of the gods.
God be Martin,
of course, yes.
Fortunately, we have that conspiracy to fall back on. If
did you all get the email for the big meeting? Yeah, of course, at the SFA.
Sorry, just one more meme that I've just remembered was the clip. Someone's tweet said that no wonder Rangers treated for so long. This is fucking class.
Love it. I'll get my dad to do an Avena. Yes. I'm sure that'll help us. But there's no point going over lineup or approach, because, as we say, that
we don't have one.
The lineup will be the same, probably Forrest. And in regards to the conditions will be something that most of these players haven't dealt with before. I mean, something we've never dealt with before. This is a one-off game to win the league. It's incredible stuff.
I would like to go on record that I think that Yang is shit. I think Negron's shit. And I think especially Austin Trusty's shit. And clip that off. And hopefully that won't come back to haunt me on, the weekend when they all score and are really good.
Lovely.
Great stuff. So tomorrow we've got the weekend update on Friday. And then on Saturday we'll have the reaction after the Hearts game. We're doing 7 to 8 podcasts per week.
7 to 8. 7 to.
Let them know. Let them have a
subscribe first.
Subscribe and then we'll see.
7 to 8 podcasts.
We've got a live show coming up which is sold out, and in fact there's a waiting list for that that's just filling up. So of course,
bit of an update on that. Junior Adami is actually on the waiting list now because we had to give away his space. He's not even getting into the show now.
But yeah, so we've got lots of podcasts. thecynic.co, check it out. You can send an email to editor@thecynic.co if you want to have any questions. I can talk you through it. Also on Patreon as well. But it's a mammoth game. It's one of the biggest games in the history of Scottish football, one of the biggest games in the history of Celtic. Let's hope it falls in our favour. Final thoughts, Barry?
Hail Mary, full of grace. No, just please God, let us do it.
Absolutely. Stuart?
Come on the hoops.
Lovely. From Stuart Duggan, from Barry Gallagher, from myself, Chris Gallagher, this has been the Cynic Weekly. And we'll speak to you down the road.